So I've had that burning for probably 5 minutes now just to get everything up to temperature. We're outside still, so there's a bit of breeze and that will affect the temperature readings, but I've turned the flames up a bit higher than they'll probably be when we actually run the tubes, because it's a bit higher than we want those flames, so that will help compensate for the fact that I'm not getting as much heat. But you can see there, as it blows back towards the front screen, I will also be getting more heat there than I would in my proper windproof enclosure. So this is an approximation, and I just want to check that so that I can determine that the front distance there is satisfactory. I've also had to put some foil up here just to help with the wind, and also to check the temperatures along here, and then I can finalise the prototype and start building the frame. So this is what they call an 8:1 thermal infrared temperature sensor. So it means that if you're 8 centimetres away, it's measuring a 1 centimetre dot. So I'm going to be about 16 centimetres away, so it'll be measuring about a 2 centimetre dot. And I'm just going to write measurements along low on the tube, but I'll be measuring up very close to the flames. Obviously I expect that we'll be over boiling here, and in fact if I splash water on there you will see it boil, although I'm not going to do that at the moment. And also out to where the diaphragm is, and out to the extremity here where the gas actually comes in, to make sure that we're not getting high temperatures there. And as we saw in an earlier trial, I'm putting my hand on there. It's about there that it's starting to get too warm to really leave my hand on there, but certainly back here. And here I'm very close to ambient, so the balloon on this end should be very close to ambient. I've got no issues at all putting my hand there. I feel around here, and this is closer than the front screen would be, but that's hot to touch. I probably don't want to leave my fingers on there, but I come back to here and no issues whatsoever. So the heat is dissipating quite quickly. This is aluminium. In the final design this will actually be galvanised steel, which has even better heat dissipation properties than aluminium. So starting to take measurements, I'll start right down at this end, and as I said, I'm about 16 centimetres away, so I'm getting a 1 centimetre, 2 centimetre dot, and I'm getting a maximum of 27 there. So I'm just going to write 27, and I'll just sort of put an X where I measured. I'll move, say, halfway in. So there I'm getting 37. And I'll come halfway towards the flame again. I'm getting 50. And now I'll go halfway in again. Getting 64. Now I get onto that first flame point right there, and I'm getting a peak of 105, so not surprisingly I would boil water there. I'll just jump right along into the middle because it should be not too different all the way along here. So getting there. So as the flame blew across then I did get a peak of 190, but I'm trying to measure a more static state than that, so I'll just retake that measurement, and I'm getting about 120, 130, let's say 130. And I'll come right off to this other side. Once again the flame's blown into that, but I'm getting sort of 150 when the flame blows in. I'll retake that measurement. Flame's blown in again. Just the fire extinguisher's alright unless it blows out, and then we need to relight it. Yeah, so similar, that sort of 110 number seems to be the steady state. Coming out to the balloon diaphragm, I'll go right out to the end here. Now the heat generally seems to be travelling this way a bit. I'm actually getting a number that's a bit warmer than ambient, so that has warmed up a little bit there. Gas is flowing in that end and out through here, so it would be pushing some of the heat up here, so it's not too surprising. So I'm getting numbers of about 50 here. which reinforces the need to change that diaphragm every time we use this, because the heat will certainly accelerate the perishing of it. And I'll go halfway in between here, as I did at the other end. So interestingly here I'm getting measurements that are more akin to what I'm getting up here. I'm getting 45. So what I suspect happening there is, because I have some insulation with both the tape and the drum membrane, I'm actually holding a bit more heat in there, which isn't too surprising, but at those sort of temperatures I'm not at all concerned, as long as we've changed that every use. So coming halfway in between here, I'm getting numbers at 60. And wait for that wind to dissipate. 65 there. Based on all of that, I'm pretty happy. You know, we're sort of 130 up here. I'll just do another few up here in the middle. Yeah, 130. I'm not right in amongst the flames, it'd be a bit hotter in there. Certainly 130 seems to be about the number for adjacent to the flames. Might come down to the bottom, which is quite a bit further away from the flames, and just see what we're getting down there. Yeah, so I get down to just beyond halfway here. I'm down in the 50s. 50, 55, let's say. It was a bit over 50. Another one down in there. Yeah, getting 62, 64, you might see that on the video. 65, I'll say. Another one down here. Yeah, 62, so I just write 65, so that seems fairly good along there. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with that. I think the tube will mount there, it'll dissipate the heat, doesn't need to be any bigger. You know, that end is a bit warmer, which doesn't surprise me. So I'll just turn the video off while I drill the hole and mount the probe thermometer in the back. Actually, before I do that, I will just take a few spot measurements on this without the probe. So I'm getting 60 to 65 there, so I'll go down lower just out of curiosity. Now I'm further away here, so I do need to have a bigger spot, so I'll just down there. Yeah, so I'm probably need a 3 centimetre spot there. I might have been a bit high before and just going off a bit. Getting 85 there. I'll just carefully write that in. I have cotton on, so I'm certainly not wearing anything flammable. So here I'm again looking for about a 3 centimetre spot, so I'm a bit lower down. So I think that 65 was a bit false because I was spilling off the edge with the dot. But I'm getting 74, something like that. So it's like a 75 in there. Got another one over here. So once again, heat seems to be a bit hotter there just because I think of the direction of the wind. 85. But this movement of the flame is certainly worse than I anticipate getting in the cabinet, so the measurements I would always expect are going to be lower on the front face. So I'm not seeing any issues with flammability there. We're talking about a substance that's probably going to have a flash point of between 500 and 1000 degrees, and that won't sustain flame in its own right, so I'm not seeing any problem with the Lexan glass we're proposing to use. Okay, so I'll just stop the video and get that probe in, which will give me a different style of measurement, and a style of measurement that I'll be able to potentially have installed through some holes in the Lexan glass as well, to keep checking on that in the final prototype, the final build.